Ambassador Carax of the Galactic Confederacy stood before the Grand Council, his crystalline exoskeleton dimming with embarrassment as he delivered his report. The council chamber, a vast amphitheater carved from a single massive quantum crystal, housed representatives from over 10,000 civilizations. Today, every single one of them waited in tense silence. Honorable Council, Carax began, his translator converting his crystalline resonances into standard galactic common. I regret to inform you that our first contact initiative with Earth has failed in ways we never imagined possible. Supreme Counselor Vizara, a being of pure energy contained within an ornate mechanical shell, leaned forward. Failed. The Confederacy has successfully integrated over 10,000 species. How could this possibly have failed? Carax's crystalline structure flickered with various colors of distress. The humans, they didn't reject us exactly. They just didn't care. The chamber erupted in shocked murmurs. The concept of a species not being impressed by the Galactic Confederacy was utterly foreign. The Confederacy represented the pinnacle of civilization, offering technologies and knowledge accumulated over millions of years. Allow me to present the recording of our first contact attempt, Carax continued. The chamber's holographic systems activated, showing the majestic arrival of the Confederacy's first contact fleet above Earth. 12 ships, each the size of a small moon, arranged themselves in the sacred geometric pattern of peaceful contact, their quantum drives manipulating spacetime itself to create a breathtaking display of light and energy. The Council watched as the fleet transmitted the standard greeting package. The solutions to their planet's environmental problems, cures for their diseases, and plans for basic faster-than-light travel. It was the standard package that had brought 10,000 other species into the fold. The humans' response came 3 Earth days later, in the form of a message from their United Nations Security Council. Dear Galactic Confederacy representatives, Carax read aloud, his voice modulator struggling to maintain composure. Thank you for your interesting proposals. While we appreciate the offer, humanity has decided to tackle our challenges independently. We have a saying, it's not about the destination, it's about the journey. We look forward to meeting you as equals once we get there on our own. P.S. Amazing light show. Several of our scientists would love to discuss how you achieved those effects over coffee sometime. The council chamber descended into chaos. A representative of the silicon-based quantum collective began emitting error messages in binary. The delegates from the HiveMind consortium started arguing with themselves. There's more, Carax continued, his crystalline form now pulsing with a mix of confusion and fascination. When we sent our follow-up package demonstrating our full technological capabilities, including our mastery of quantum mechanics and our ability to manipulate the fundamental forces of the universe, they responded with memes. The holographic display showed a series of images that the human internet had generated within hours of the second contact attempt. One showed their primitive spacecraft with the caption, "It ain't much, but it's honest work." Another depicted their current level of technology compared to the Confederacy's offerings, labeled Mom. We have advanced civilization at home. Advanced civilization at home. Earth. But surely they understand the benefits of joining the Confederacy, Vizara asked, her energy form flickering with disbelief. The knowledge, the technology, the protection. They sent us this in response to that particular point, Carax replied, projecting another message. Thanks for the offer of protection, but we're currently speedrunning civilization and would consider your help as cheating. Check back in a few centuries. Also, several of our nations would like to know if you're interested in trade. Apparently, something called anime and pizza have universal appeal. The council sat in stunned silence. 10,000 species, each having eagerly joined the Confederacy upon first contact, and humanity just opted out, preferred to develop on their own, found their technological displays amusing rather than awe-inspiring. There's one final detail, Carax added, his crystalline form now showing signs of genuine admiration. While we were processing their response, they somehow reverse-engineered several principles of our quantum communication system just from observing our transmissions. They sent their last message using a crude but functional version of our own technology, with a note saying, "Hope you don't mind that we figured out how your doorbell works." Supreme Counselor Vizera's energy form pulsed with what could only be described as a headache. So they're clever enough to partially reverse-engineer our technology just by observation, but instead of accepting our offer to learn everything, they prefer to figure it out themselves. Precisely, Krax confirmed. They called it more fun that way. They also invited us to something called a game night if we're interested in, quote, hanging out as friends instead of doing the whole cosmic civilization mentor thing. The council chamber fell silent again. 10,000 species trying to comprehend a civilization that treated first contact with an advanced galactic society as casually as meeting new neighbors. Finally, Vizera spoke again. Perhaps we should accept that game night invitation. It seems we have much to learn about these humans. Chief Analyst X427, a synthetic being comprised of billions of networked nanomachines, hovered anxiously before the Confederacy's Intelligence Council. Her normally pristine silver form rippled with disturbance patterns as she prepared to deliver her findings on humanity's technological capabilities. Distinguished members of the Intelligence Council, she began, her voice modulated to project calm she didn't feel. Our analysis of human technology has revealed concerning anomalies. Director Zell, whose species had evolved from quantum probability clouds, coalesced into a more focused form. Concerning how they're pre-FTL. Their energy production is primarily based on nuclear fission and primitive renewables. They haven't even unified their planetary government. That's just it, X427 replied, projecting a holographic display of Earth's technological development curve. By all standard metrics, they should be centuries away from being a significant galactic presence. But they've developed shortcuts. The hologram shifted to show various human technologies. Take their space program. While we developed elegant quantum drives for space travel, they strapped themselves to controlled explosions. It's barbaric, incredibly dangerous, and yet surprisingly effective. They reached their moon using slide rules and computers less powerful than our food replicators. Surely that just proves their technological inferiority. Another council member interjected. That's what we thought at first. X427 continued, her form rippling more intensely. Then we discovered their problem-solving methodology. While we pursue elegant, perfect solutions, they hack things together. Look at this. The hologram showed a human space station. Their International Space Station is a marvel of improvisation. When something breaks, instead of replacing it with a superior component, they fix it with whatever they have on hand. They once repaired a critical system with a toothbrush. And it worked. The council chambers filled with murmurs of disbelief. Director Zell's probability cloud flickered with uncertainty patterns. But our scans showed no signs of advanced AI systems guiding these decisions. That's another anomaly, X427 replied. They don't use AI for these solutions. They call it human ingenuity, or sometimes winging it. They have this remarkable ability to look at a problem, ignore all established solutions, and create something entirely new that somehow works. She projected another image, this time of various human military technologies. Their weapons development is equally concerning. We designed elegant energy weapons that can atomize targets from orbit. They looked at a metal tube, wondered what would happen if they made it spin really fast, and created railguns that achieve similar results through sheer kinetic force. It's inelegant, primitive, and terrifyingly effective. Surely they can't compete with our level of technology. Director Zell asked, though his probability cloud was showing signs of stress. That's the most worrying part, X427 responded, her silver form now almost fully destabilized. They don't try to compete. They find ways around problems we spent millennia solving. We developed complex shield technologies to defend against energy weapons. They responded by developing weapons that simply overwhelmed shields through brute force or bypassed them entirely. The hologram shifted to show various human communication devices and their information technology. It's chaos. Instead of developing a unified, efficient system, they created multiple competing standards and somehow made them all work together. They call it backward compatibility and legacy support. It's messy, inefficient, and incredibly resilient. But what about their energy crisis? Another council member asked. Surely they need our help with that. About that, X-427's form rippled with what could only be described as embarrassment. They'd recently begun experiments with something they call artificial suns. They're trying to replicate stellar fusion in bottles. The most alarming part, they're making progress, not through elegant quantum manipulation like we did, but by basically creating miniature stars and telling them to behave. Director Zell's probability cloud was now showing clear signs of distress. Are you suggesting that their refusal of our help might be warranted? X-427 completed the thought. They're solving problems we thought impossible at their technology level. Not through superior technology, but through what they call thinking outside the box. They don't see technological limitations as barriers, but as challenges to overcome through creativity. She projected one final image, a human internet meme showing a crude stick figure labeled humanity, poking a complex problem with a stick, and saying, "I bet I can fix that with duct tape." We offered them solutions to their problems. X-427 concluded, but they seem to genuinely prefer finding their own solutions. And based on their current trajectory, they might actually succeed. Their solutions won't be elegant, they won't be perfect, but they'll work. And that's all they seem to care about. The Intelligence Council sat in stunned silence, trying to process the implications. They had encountered thousands of species over millions of years, but never one that looked at the established order of technological progress and simply said, "Nah, we'll do it our way." Director Zell's probability cloud finally stabilized enough to speak. Continue monitoring their progress. And perhaps we should start studying this duct tape they seem so fond of. Something tells me we haven't seen anything yet. Dr. Exel, head of the newly formed Human Understanding Initiative, stood before the Confederacy's Cultural Research Division. Her gelatinous form quivered with a mixture of excitement and apprehension as she prepared to present 6 months of research findings. "Distinguished colleagues," she began, her translator converting her biochemical signals into speech, "Project Understanding has made significant, if somewhat confusing progress in deciphering human behavior patterns." She gestured to a holographic display showing various human activities. "Our first major discovery was that humans are walking contradictions. They create artificial intelligence, but deliberately limit its capabilities because of something called robot apocalypse movies. They possess weapons that could destroy their civilization, but maintain peace through something called mutually assured destruction. They call this common sense." The assembled researchers watched in fascination as Dr. Ixel continued, her form rippling with increasing agitation. Their entertainment media has been particularly challenging to analyze. They spend enormous resources creating simulations of situations they actively try to avoid in reality. They call this fun. She displayed a series of human video games. Look at this popular simulation called Doom. Humans pretend to fight demons from another dimension. When we asked why they would prepare for such an unlikely scenario, they explained it wasn't preparation at all. They just thought it was, quote, totally awesome. A researcher raised an appendage, but surely their educational systems follow more logical patterns. Dr. Exel's form briefly lost cohesion before stabilizing. Their education system, well, they have multiple competing systems, first of all. But here's the truly baffling part. They teach their young abstract concepts through something called memes. Our linguistic analysts are still trying to determine how Big Chungus relates to quantum mechanics. She moved to another display showing human social media. Their primary information exchange networks are simultaneously used for groundbreaking scientific discussions and sharing pictures of small animals they call cats. These cats appear to hold some form of religious significance, though our theology experts are still debating this. But what about their response to our technological offerings? Another researcher asked. Surely we can understand their reasoning there. Dr. Ixel's form shifted to a deeper shade of uncertainty. We conducted extensive interviews with human scientists about this. Their responses were unique. One prominent physicist told us, and I quote, "Where's the fun in having all the answers handed to you? That's like using cheat codes in a game." She displayed a conversation transcript. When we explained that our technology could solve their energy crisis, they showed us something called Iron Man and said they'd rather build their own arc reactor. When we pointed out that arc reactors are fictional, they said, "So far," and winked at us. We're still trying to decode the significance of this winking gesture. The hologram shifted to show human research facilities. Their scientific method is equally perplexing. While we meticulously calculate every possibility before conducting experiments, they often operate on what they call gut feeling, or wouldn't it be cool if. Several of their major discoveries were apparently made by accident while trying to do something else entirely. Surely they must have some logical decision-making process. A researcher pressed. Dr. Ixel's form pulsed with what could only be described as resigned amusement. They have a saying, "Hold my beer and watch this." Our behavioral analysts have identified this phrase as a prelude to either a brilliant innovation or a spectacular disaster, with seemingly no way to predict which outcome will occur. She displayed a final set of data. Perhaps most baffling is their response to failure. When their experiments fail, instead of abandoning the approach, they often say, "Let's see what happens if we do it again but bigger." They call this scaling up, or sometimes going big or going home. The conclusion of our preliminary study, Dr. Ixel continued, her form now showing complex patterns of fascination, is that humans operate on a system of logic that appears to be simultaneously more primitive and more advanced than our own. They possess the ability to make intuitive leaps that our most sophisticated AI systems can't replicate, while also maintaining beliefs and behaviors that seem completely irrational. She displayed one final image, a human internet meme showing a dog in a laboratory with the caption, "I have no idea what I'm doing, but it's working." In essence, she concluded, humans appear to have mastered the art of successful randomness. They progress not despite their chaotic nature, but because of it. They don't just think outside the box. They question why there needs to be a box at all. The assembled researchers sat in contemplative silence, their various forms showing signs of cognitive distress as they tried to process this information. Finally, one spoke up. "Should we be worried?" Dr. Ixel's form rippled with what might have been laughter. "Worried? Perhaps, but I believe we should be more excited than concerned. After all, as one human scientist told me, the best discoveries happen when you're not quite sure what you're doing, but you're having fun doing it anyway." Emergency alarms reverberated through the Confederacy's Central Command as Supreme Counselor Vizera's energy form crackled with barely contained panic. The holographic displays surrounding the command center showed a threat that hadn't been seen in 50,000 years, the Void Swarm. "Status report," Vizera demanded, her energy form pulsing rapidly. Fleet Admiral Kex-9, a hybrid of organic and quantum technology, stepped forward. "The Void Swarm has emerged from deep space exactly as ancient records predicted. They're consuming everything in their path. Matter, energy, even spacetime itself. Our models predict they'll reach Earth's sector in approximately 72 hours. Have we contacted the humans?" Vizera asked, though she already dreaded the answer. "We tried." Ambassador Carax's crystalline form dimmed as he spoke. Their response was, Typical. When we explained the situation, they said, "Cool, sounds like the plot of Independence Day meets Starship Troopers. We're in." They don't understand the gravity of the situation. Admiral Kex-9 interjected. The Void Swarm defeated the ancient predecessors themselves. Our most powerful weapons barely slow them down. We need to evacuate Earth immediately. About that, Krax continued, his crystalline structure flickering with what might have been embarrassment. When we offered evacuation, they declined. Their exact words were, "Nah, we got some ideas we want to try first." Visera's energy form fluctuated in disbelief. Ideas against the Void Swarm. What could they possibly? She was interrupted by a transmission from Earth. A human woman in a lab coat appeared on the main screen, coffee cup in hand. "Hey there, Galactic friends. Dr. Sarah Chen, Earth Defense Initiative. We've been looking at your data on these Void Swarm things. Quick question. Has anyone tried giving them indigestion?" The command center fell silent. Admiral Kex-9's quantum circuits nearly shorted out. Indigestion. They consume entire star systems. They're not some simple organic life form. "Yeah, we got that," Dr. Chen replied, taking the sip of coffee. "But everything that consumes has to process what it consumes, right? We've been running some simulations. You said they absorb all matter and energy. Well, what happens if that matter and energy really doesn't want to be absorbed?" Before the Confederacy could respond, another human joined the transmission. A man with disheveled hair and what appeared to be food stains on his shirt. "Dr. Mike Rodriguez, Theoretical Physics. We've been looking at your records of previous encounters. These Void Swarm things, they're basically space locusts on steroids. And you know what works against locusts? Making the food disagree with them. This is not some simple pest control problem." Admiral Kex-9 exploded. "We're talking about entities that exist in multiple dimensions simultaneously." "Oh, we noticed that," Dr. Chen grinned. "That's actually perfect for what we have in mind. We're calling it Project Spicy Boy." The human scientists proceeded to outline their plan. As they spoke, the Confederacy's top minds went from dismissive to confused to cautiously intrigued. They wanted to create what they called a quantum ghost pepper, a cascade of particles specifically designed to interact with the Void Swarm's multidimensional digestive process in the most disruptive way possible. "It's like this," Dr. Rodriguez explained, sketching on a whiteboard. "You know how some foods just don't sit right? Now imagine that, but across 11 dimensions simultaneously. We're going to give these cosmic locusts the equivalent of interdimensional food poisoning. That's completely insane." Admiral Kex-9 sputtered. "The calculations alone would take years to—" "Oh, we solved those already," Dr. Chen interrupted, holding up her phone. "We posted the problem on Reddit and Stack Overflow. You'd be amazed how many physicists browse those sites when they're supposed to be sleeping. We've got a working prototype ready for testing." "Prototype?" Visera's energy form pulsed with alarm. "You built this already?" "Well, yeah," Dr. Rodriguez shrugged. "We figured out the basic principles from your data packets about multidimensional physics. Thanks for those, by the way. And then we kind of just MacGyvered it together. We actually used parts from an old microwave and some quantum processors we reverse engineered from your communication signals. The power source is basically a modified tokamak reactor powered by energy drinks." The Confederacy's command center erupted in chaos. The idea was preposterous, dangerous, and violated at least 7 fundamental laws of physics. It also, several quantum computers reluctantly concluded, might actually work. "We'll need the Confederacy's help to deploy it effectively," Dr. Chen continued. "Our delivery system is still a bit crude. We were thinking of using modified ICBMs, but if you got ships that could get closer to the swarm, that would be great. Also, we should probably coordinate with your fleet to set up a containment perimeter. You know, in case this works a little too well and we accidentally create a cascade of interdimensional indigestion." Visora looked at her advisors, each of whom seemed to be experiencing their species' equivalent of a headache. The humans had taken one look at an ancient, unstoppable threat that had defeated the most powerful civilization in known history, and their response was to give it cosmic indigestion. It was ridiculous, unorthodox, and possibly suicidal. It was also, she realized, exactly why the humans had refused their help in the first place. They didn't want shortcuts or handed-down solutions. They wanted to face challenges their own way, with their own unique blend of scientific brilliance and what they called holding my beer energy. Very well, Visera said finally. The Confederacy will assist in implementing Project Spicy Boy. May the universe have mercy on us all. Awesome. Dr. Chen beamed. Also, we're live streaming the whole thing on Twitch. The internet is going to love this. 6 months after the Void Swarm incident, Supreme Counselor Visera addressed the largest gathering of species representatives in Confederacy history. Her energy form glowed with an intensity that reflected the magnitude of the moment. Members of the Galactic Confederacy, she began, we stand at a turning point in our civilization's history. For millions of years, we believed we had perfected the path of progress. We had a system, elegant and ordered, for uplifting species into our galactic community. And then we met the humans. The massive chamber's holographic systems displayed footage from what the humans had dubbed the Great Cosmic Food Fight. The Void Swarm, unstoppable for millennia, confronting humanity's improvised weapon. The resulting reaction had indeed caused what Dr. Chen called interdimensional indigestion, forcing the swarm to retreat to the space between galaxies. Their solution shouldn't have worked, Visera continued. By all our calculations, all our carefully gathered knowledge, it was impossible. And yet here we are. The humans didn't just survive. They turned a fight for survival into what they called the universe's biggest science experiment. Admiral Kex-9 stepped forward, his hybrid form now sporting several modifications inspired by human technology. The aftermath of the crisis revealed something even more surprising. While we were focused on the primary threat, human scientists had splintered off into hundreds of small teams, each trying different approaches to the problem. They called it throwing everything at the wall to see what sticks. The display showed various human research projects. One team had attempted to communicate with the Void Swarm using modified cat videos. Another had tried to trap them in a maze of quantum mirrors. A third had theorized about teaching them to play chess instead of consuming galaxies. Most of these attempts failed, Admiral Kex-9 admitted, but each failure taught them something new. And here's the truly remarkable part. They celebrated these failures. They have an entire online platform dedicated to sharing failed experiments, called What Could Go Wrong. Dr. Exel, her gelatinous form now decorated with what appeared to be a human lab coat, joined them. The humans have a saying, failure is just success in progress. While we sought perfection, they embraced imperfection as a path to innovation. Their chaotic approach to problem-solving has revealed blind spots in our own thinking that we never knew existed. The display shifted to show various human innovations that had emerged from the crisis. They had adapted the quantum ghost pepper concept into new forms of energy production. Their studies of the Void Swarm's multi-dimensional nature had led to breakthroughs in physics that the Confederacy's rigid approach had missed. They had even started a fast food chain called Void Nuggets, though everyone agreed that was probably taking things too far. But perhaps most importantly, Visera continued, they showed us that there is no single path to advancement. The humans rejected our help not out of pride or fear, but because they understood something we had forgotten. The journey matters as much as the destination. She gestured to a new addition to the chamber, a simple whiteboard with the words, "What if we tried it this way?" written on it. Therefore, I propose a fundamental restructuring of the Confederacy's approach to emerging civilizations. Instead of offering them our solutions, we will offer them our problems. Instead of teaching them our ways, we will learn from their unique approaches. The chamber erupted in discussion. Some representatives were horrified at the idea of abandoning millennia of tradition. Others were excited by the possibilities. A few were already trying to figure out how to install whiteboards in their ships. "The humans have a term," Vizera said, raising her voice over the commotion. "They call it thinking outside the box. We built our civilization inside a beautiful, perfect box of our own making. They showed us that sometimes the best solutions come from having no box at all." She paused, her energy form shimmering with amusement. "They also showed us that sometimes the best way to solve a universal threat is to give it cosmic indigestion. But perhaps that's a lesson for another day." As if on cue, a transmission from Earth appeared on the main display. It was Dr. Chen, still with her ever-present coffee cup. "Hey there, space friends. Quick question. We've been thinking about your faster-than-light communication system. Has anyone ever tried using quantum-entangled memes? Also, unrelated, but would you be interested in joining our interstellar game night? We're playing something called Among Us." Vizera looked out at the assembled representatives of 10,000 species, each wrestling with this new paradigm. The humans had taken every assumption about civilization and progress that the Confederacy had developed over millions of years, cheerfully ignored them all, and somehow ended up exactly where they needed to be. "The age of perfect solutions is over," she declared. "Welcome to the age of let's try it and see what happens." In the back of the chamber, Ambassador Carax's crystalline form sparkled with what might have been laughter. He had already signed up for the game night. After all, if humanity had taught them anything, it was that sometimes the best way to understand a species was to watch them try to figure out who the imposter was among their crew.